All right, we're going to revisit item 10E. I see Mr. Dean Peterson has joined us. So that is to waive a second reading and adopt an ordinance of the City of San Bruno adding Chapter 10.25 Reusable Bag Ordinance to regulate the distribution of single-use carry-out bags by retail establishments to Title 10 Municipal Services of the San Bruno Municipal Code.
Thank you. The City Council at its January 8th meeting introduced the Reusable Bag Ordinance. And since that meeting, staff has hosted an informational meeting for retailers as well as an informational meeting for residents. Several business representatives attended that retail informational meeting, and unfortunately we did not have any residents attend the community informational meeting. The question that staff has received from the business owner are mostly clarifying the ordinance, trying to get a better understanding of the exemptions, as well as the applicability. Very specific questions. How does this ordinance apply to my business specific are the questions that we're receiving. We have received one comment from a resident expressing concern with the ordinance. As we indicated at the last meeting, the ordinance does apply to all retail establishments, and that includes grocery stores as well as a department store. And as noted at your last meeting, restaurants would be exempt from this ordinance, as well as produce bags that don't have a handle on them and that are used to protect food. Plastic bags that, as well, that do not have a handle, like a garment bag or a dry cleaning bag, are also exempt from the ordinance. The county will be distributing toolkits to San Bruno businesses by the end of this month to assist with implementation and outreach. And city and county staff will be making personal visits to businesses to also assist them with implementation. Staff will continue to outreach to residents with an informational flyer in the utility bill insert, as well as hosting an additional informational meeting on March 21st in the evening. Just want to point out that I believe 2 copies of the ordinance were inadvertently included. You only need to adopt 1 copy of this ordinance. Dean Peterson, as well as Wayman Wong, are here from the County Environmental Health Department, and together we would be happy to try to answer any of your questions.
Good. Any questions? Ken?
All right, I'm going to throw my scenarios at. First, did you get any correspondence, any questions from department stores like Penny's, Sears, Target?
I have not heard directly from the larger retail establishments. I have spoken with a number of the smaller stores. I spoke with a gentleman at a shoe store, for example, and he had some questions. We did have Molly Stone's representative attend the meeting, and they were very kind of up to speed and ready to implement the ordinance. But I think Dean Peterson has spoken with some other larger retailers and can maybe also answer your question. Okay,
well, my question is, I want to go clothes shopping.
Yes.
And so I'm frugal, I go to Penny's, and okay, I'm not going to buy a suit, but I might buy some undergarments, a shirt, a pair of pants or something. What kind of bag am I going to have? Am I supposed to bring a reusable bag?
That is correct.
Okay.
You would be encouraged to bring a reusable bag, and the store should also have reusable bags available for purchase.
Okay, and I've heard from retailers they think that that's going to be a security nightmare because people are going to walk into their stores with their own bags. And I go in a grocery store now with a reusable bag, and I load my groceries in it. And then when I come to the checkout stand, I unload. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to put alarms on socks, on little things now, because people are just, I mean, it's opened themselves up to theft, I think, and security issues. So that would be my concern.
Sure. Through the mayor, if I may address that concern. Obviously, shoplifting is a concern of all retailers at any time. Whether you have a backpack, whether you have a purse, you're able to put items into that. We've heard from Target, we've heard from retailers in San Jose, in LA, and also in San Francisco. They have not had an issue, and they have not seen an increase in shoplifting. But again, that is going to be something that they will need to continue to be wary of, as they are in any other businesses. So that could be a side effect. It's something that we will need to monitor. And if we do see that increasing, and we talk with retailers as we go through, again, this ordinance, we always have opportunities to go back and change it, to tweak it, and to make it a better policy if need be.
Along those lines, if I could, so I'm buying $100 worth of clothes, but I'm not going to get a garment bag. I'll pay the 10 cents, So I mean, so that's that's still available. They'll have a bag available for me for 10 cents.
It is up to the retailer's discretion. They do not have to have a bag available, but I would imagine most retailers will offer that as an option for you, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Good. Rico?
Yeah, I have one question to staff, but since you're at the podium, so I don't have to keep coming up and down. I also went to a small retailer, and I was asking, were you notified? Answer was yes. Then I said, so how are you planning to keep the records for 3 years? Unaware of that. I said, okay, well, you need to charge the customer, because I'd asked that question. If you don't charge the customer for the bag, you can be fined. Didn't know that either. So I don't know if that was clearly known within the documents that went out to the retailers, but this is just an example. So then, interestingly enough, we talked about bags. So another question came up, why are we charging a dime? I said, well, they say it's I guess behavior modification is a great term, and then it goes up to 25 cents, because then people become, as you had said, the dime doesn't seem that relevant, and so then you up it. So I said, okay. So we went through a receipt, and we went through some bags. So his point to me was, as we have 3 different bags here, this is called bag number 4. You can then mark, because there is a barcode nowadays, didn't know that. And this is, for 500 of this, for him, it is 1.4 cents for this bag, 1.7 cents for this bag, 1.9 cents for this bag. For the plastic bag, that he's not in favor of this. I think he told me it was 2.7. So in essence, it's cheaper here. But his question to me is, Rico, why would I charge people a dime when it doesn't cost me 2 cents? It seems like now we're taking advantage, and then you're going to raise it to 25 cents, and sure, costs will go up. But I really had a hard time explaining that. Why are we making money off the consumer?
Right.
And who is making that money? Is that the business? Then another part of it came up. Well, if somebody comes in here and spends $75 for whatever they buy, I don't want to charge them for the bag. Well, you have to. You could be fined $100 for giving customer service. So he wants to know if me, who owns the business, he does, and he wants to do that to provide customer service. Maybe he wants to advertise it as such, or maybe he wants to make the determination at the register because he values customer service. He no longer has that option. So these are some of my initial questions.
Okay. Through the mayor, I will attempt to answer those. I may miss a few. I may not have caught everything you had. One question I'd have on those paper bags, are those actually the 40% post-consumer recyclable bags that are required by the ordinance?
I don't know. I'd have to ask.
Right.
I guess that would make the price
those
go
bags
up.
are slightly more expensive. When we looked at that, I mean, without getting into a full rate schedule and identifying what bags were, we did take an average, and we were looking at the larger paper bags, the number 48s or the 86s. I used to be a bag boy years ago, so I remember that from back in the day. These types of bags would really be considered more of a protective bag, something you'd put a bottle of wine in or another glass container to keep it from bumping in and going. Those likely would not be part of what you would be looking at for the cost. It's the larger paper bags with the handles. They are more expensive because they are 40% post-consumer, 100% recyclable, and those on the market are slightly more expensive. We took a look at an average, and we got this number from the Grocers Association. Depending upon the bulk and what you can buy, those bags range anywhere from 8 cents to 15 cents. Some a little more elaborate with writing on it can get more expensive. It was chosen to go with a 10-cent minimum charge. But you're correct. The ordinance does not allow for special promotions for businesses simply to give away the bag. This ordinance is more overall looking at getting society back to a reusable type society, getting away from a single use or a limited use society where we use something once or twice and we simply throw it away. With a number of people in the Bay Area, we simply cannot afford to have that as a sustainable option, and that's the decision that we went with. Does that address a portion of your...
Well, I guess it does. I know I was in Millbrae, and I think it was this bag cost me a dime.
Okay.
this type of size bag.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, and
recyclable or not.
yeah, and that's something that, again, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But, and that's something that may not have been completely well thought out, but again, without getting into a full rate schedule, which we felt would be really over-encumbering and everyone trying to figure out this size of bag is this much, this size of bag is that much. We figured a minimum charge of 10 cents. It's to change behavior. What they're finding in San Jose, in Los Angeles, around the world that are implementing this, it's getting people to change their behavior. People are not buying. And quite frankly, if I were to buy something that would go into that small a bag, I don't think I would need a bag for that. It's something I could carry out in my hands or in my backpack or another bag that I have.
And I appreciate, and maybe I would do the same, but at the same time, you know, everybody has a unique situation.
Sure.
Maybe they have young children they're tending to. Maybe they have some issues that require them. Maybe that this is a more helpful tool. So I want to help the environment, and I want to help move things forward and take care of things. You know, interesting enough, at where I was, I said, well, it's the same thing like you raise a cigarette tax. And he says, no, Rico, Marlboro now has a cigarette called Maverick. So in essence, it's cheaper. So people don't stop smoking. They're just smoking a brand or quality that is not as great. Same thing with alcohol. They can't afford whatever grade. Sometimes they go down. So I want to make sure these things are addressed, because what I want to do is I want to help improve things, but I don't want to hinder the community at large. I know you're talking about San Jose, and I know you're talking about LA, but I'm talking about San Bruno now, San Mateo County. And so I need to have some more assurances as we move forward with this, that these type of things are addressed. I know it's about going and checking records during normal business hours. So my question to staff was, whose normal business hours? The proprietor, the shop owner, or the county? It's the county. So I know there's a stipulation to make some mutual agreement. But, you know, when you want to get buy-in, you got to go forward and work with the people that are running a business, are paying the bills, paying people's salaries, and adding value to our community. Went into Trader Joe's. Millbrae asked, hey, how is this going? 50-50. Now, Millbrae's done it for a little bit, but he thinks that there's improvement. So I think it does change, and it is better. But some of these things that I'm initially bringing up, I think, are things that need to be addressed.
Absolutely, and I understand that. And again, the commitment on the county's part, like all of the ordinances that we implement, it's a very soft rollout. We're there to work with the businesses. We're there to figure out what works. We're not going to be punitive, and we need to identify all these issues as we go through, and that's kind of where we are right now. So I appreciate your comments.
I'll pause.
Anyone else? All right. Mr. Rico, did you have a comment?
I had a question. I was talking to a business owner, and he says, can I give him a rebate on the 10 cents? If I charge him 10 cents for the bag, can I give him a 10-cent discount?
No.
I don't know how you answer that question. Does that fall within the rules of the ordinance? It doesn't necessarily accomplish what you want to do, but
Anyone else? I think we had a similar discussion, and it was a lot more lively when we talked about the takeout containers. We had a pretty good sized group of people here a number of times, and it was complaints, and we can't do this, and it's going to cost me this, and it won't work, and we can't do this, and we haven't heard a word. And it works for the most part in San Bruno, and that's San Bruno, and this is a county-wide. So I think, is this a real good thing for the environment going forward? I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think when people get used to it, just like we did in San Bruno when we started recycling, huge recycling effort here many years ago, you can see the street corners tonight and how much recycling is being done. And the same thing with San Francisco. San Francisco now have very small garbage cans because they're recycling all of their wet waste, all of their dry waste, all kinds of things. So yeah, we're going to hit some bumps in the road, and I think as long as it's revisited periodically to, meet the level of the cooperation of what's going on in the future, it's a good thing. So overall, sure, there's always going to be, little questions here or there, and we'll have to work through that. But I think in the bigger picture, this is the right way to go. So I definitely support this.
Yeah, and through the chair, even though I wanted to do some homework to better understand, I'm in favor of this, but I'm also in favor of doing it the right way. And I know it's not always a fits all. And I just really want to be mindful, just like the automatic 25-cent to go automatically. There's no, I want it revisited. I want, when these questions are asked to me, and let's just, argument's sake, say it's 3 cents. Where is the extra money going? Is it going to whom? So in essence, it costs more to do business. I know the other communities are doing the same.
Yeah.
But I think these are some real good questions that were brought up by this person.
Absolutely. I do know that San Jose is revisiting the 25 cents at this point because, again, the behavior has changed well for the 10 cents. So that's something that we definitely have on the horizon. We will make sure that, and trust me, my Board of Supervisors is asking the same question, and they want to make sure that when this is getting ready to go 25 cents, that I can be there proving that we have to do it. And unless I have that proof, we're not going to do it. So, yeah. So, and we want to, in fact, tonight I was down in Menlo Park. One of their council members had a very good suggestion for looking at, future changes to the ordinance as we look at this. And so we definitely need to do this. This is a product of 24 cities getting together in their minds, coming up with a policy that was going to work, and then we can start tailoring as we do. Those are issues, we definitely will address them. Thank you.
Just feel a little better.
Okay. Just so we get this right, because I think there was a little confusion the last time this was brought up, the action requested is a motion to waive the second reading?
Correct.
All right, and
to
then
adopt
introduce the ordinance?
To adopt the ordinance.
To adopt the ordinance, okay.
I move we waive the second reading.
A motion second to waive the second reading on the question. All in favor?
Aye. Okay, I'd like to introduce adopt. And introduce the resolution. No, it's an
Introduce
ordinance.
the ordinance.
It's an ordinance, yes. I'd like to adopt,
Would be to-
introduce the adoption of the ordinance.
No,
We
it's to
don't do
adopt.
adopt the ordinance?
It's to adopt the ordinance.
All right, I'd like to do that. We don't do ordinances very often, so.
Vice Mayor O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar. Mayor Ruane.
Aye.